Welcome to Healing the Capitalist Wound Speaker Series Part 1. I'm Jenny Rogers, your host. In this video, visibility coach and guide for visionary entrepreneurs Jocelyn Mercado shares how healing our relationship with money is essential to healing our communities and Mother Earth. You'll get insights you can apply in your life and work right now. Are you ready? Okay, let's do it. Jocelyn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Jenny. It is truly an honor to be a part of your event.
I'm super excited to have you here because I've been following you for several years now and love everything that you put out, and everything that you're doing is just so affirming that we are, as a global community, really capable of creating massive change no matter where we are in the world and what kind of work we're doing. So gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words.
So today we are going to talk about healing a relationship with money. And to dive right into the topic, I would love for you to share with us what the dominant relationship with money is today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to thank you, Jenny, for creating this event about healing the capitalist wound. I can't wait to see all of the other interviews. This is such an important thing for us to be talking about. So much, much gratitude to you for creating this. Yeah, so the dominant relationship that we have today in our westernized world, as related to money, is that we're really raised in this westernized culture from day one, from birth, to really we're immersed in this idea that there has to be endless growth, right? There has to be like endless expansion, maximum comfort and convenience. And we are, from television and media and just the messages that we get from the world all around us, we're just really immersed in this space of, everything being very commercialized, everything being about money. And it comes at the expense of many, many aspects of our world. The way that we have formed this relationship to money, it is, money is being used as an excuse to harm our planet, the earth, and plants and animals all around the world. Money is, in the hands of the few, the wealthy, and then there are millions of people who don't have their basic needs met, whether that is, medical care or clean water or adequate food and housing. And so all of these things are being sacrificed. And we see this happening, and we take this in on a very, very deep level. And we form certain beliefs as we grow up and grow older and are really establishing our values in the world, and honestly, it's kind of bewildering to see what money is used for in our world. And usually what happens is that we come to the conclusion that on some level, money must be bad, and so whether we really believe that fully, or whether in many cases it's like a deeply held limiting belief that's very subconscious, that we form to kind of adapt to how we operate in the world. Most of us have that in there somewhere, this idea that money is bad, people with a lot of money are evil, right? We have these ideas. And then as we enter into our own personal growth, personal development, or spiritual growth, whatever our path might be, then we start to form this idea that if I want to be a kind or a good or a spiritual person, I shouldn't try to have money. I shouldn't try to have a lot of money. And the problem with that is we need money to survive in today's world. So when we shun money and we say, I don't want to be a part of that because it's clearly bad, then we're left with lack and scarcity. And we're left in a place where we cannot then bring our highest contribution forward into the world. If I'm laying awake at night agonizing over how am I going to pay the mortgage, or how am I going to pay the rent, or how am I going to buy food for my kids tomorrow, then I'm not going to be able to get up in the morning and bring my highest good, my highest level of service forward into the world. And so, this is a really big wounding that we have around money, and it really comes from this dichotomy that we see between what we know is possible, what we know, the good that we know that each of us are able to do in the world, um, but needing financial resources in order to do that, and seeing then all of the negative ways that those financial resources are being used. It creates a really, really deep and lasting wounding for us.
So given that wounding is huge, and there's a great tension of um, wanting to create positive change in this world and feeling like, oh my goodness, we're in this economy which has values and beliefs that are at odds with our own personal values and beliefs. So what do you say are the beliefs that we need to develop in order to heal this wound around money?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me share a little story just to illustrate part of this. So one of my elder teachers has shared this in different ways, right? In different talks that she's given. And this is from Woman Stand Shining. And so she says that, she shares that she's kind of always had a tumultuous relationship with money, right? In different ways throughout her life. But that at some point, the spirit of money started coming to her and speaking to her. And so she entered into a completely new relationship with money by starting to have these conversations with this spirit of money. And she was very curious and wanted to learn more. And so what she found out was that the spirit of money was a feminine spirit, right? And that this was a very creative spirit that wants to work together with us, that wants to co-create with us, that wants to provide us the abundance that we need to do our good work in the world and to create positive change in the world. And so this spirit of money has been very much co-opted by multinational corporations and oil companies and and government and all of these big forces in our world that are in not always, but in some cases using money in negative ways. And so my elder teacher says that this way of using that money is being used for negative, this is not aligned with the original design of money, right? Money is actually meant to come and flow into our lives and allow us to do the things that we need to do and to be very co-creative with us in that way. And this really mirrors what Lynn Twist says in her amazing book, The Soul of Money. I highly recommend that book to everybody who, if you haven't already read it. And Lynn Twist says that money should be like a river, and it's a river that flows through all of our lives. So it might flow into my life, and then I might purchase something from you, Jenny, and then it might flow into your life, and then you allow that. We all need to allow that flow to continue, right? We need to have generosity of spirit. We need to be very, very open and allow it to flow in and not be afraid of that, not think it's evil or bad, not block the flow, and then also let it flow out to do more good in the world. And so the truth is, in order to create any change in our circumstances in the world, we must have a certain degree of financial resources at our fingertips. And so we really do need to shift our beliefs around this and do some deep inner work to let go of the idea that money is evil, that money is bad. One really powerful way to look at this is to see that this is something I have read from different writers, and I find it to be so true, that money makes us more of who we really are, right? So if somebody is greedy and selfish and evil and they get a lot of money, they're going to do more greedy and selfish things with it. But what about you or I, right? Or what about you, the listener who's watching this interview right now, I am pretty sure that you are a very good person, right? And that you want to create positive change in the world. So if you get a lot of money, what are you going to do with it? You're not going to do selfish, greedy things with it. You're going to probably share it with other people who are in need, or you're going to start a community or a business or a movement that is deeply needed in our world, or you're going to use it in order to get your important message out in a different way, right? There's so many positive ways that we can become empowered to use money. And we need to really claim that. So one very powerful thing we can do to shift our beliefs is to create an intention around how we want to use the money when it flows into our lives. And if we can, and I recommend doing this, journaling on this, or getting just a blank piece of paper and writing this out. Like, what is your intention for how you would like to use the new money that's going to be coming into your life as you open up the road for the abundance to come in? Do you want to, are there certain important causes that you want to be able to give to? Do you want to, start buying organic food for your children? Like, what is it? What is it that's most important to you? And then when we really connect in with that, when we connect in with our higher intentions for how these resources can be used, it can really shift things on a deeper inner level, and it can allow us to let that abundance flow in and really, provide us what we need to make those changes in the world. I also think it's just so important to say that we each have a very important mission. We are each here for a very important reason. We each have unique gifts and talents and life experiences that we are meant to bring forward and help the world in some way. And it may be very small, it may be very big, it may affect a lot of people, it may be just doing my own personal healing work. But whatever it is that you're meant to do, we need to be stepping into our mission and our purpose at this time, at this very catalyzing time on our planet, right? And in order to do that, in almost every case, you're going to need to be able to welcome in this financial abundance. So I welcome you to really see it from that viewpoint too, that it's not just about me. It's not just about you. It's about this bigger picture, the collective that we're a part of. And what do I need to allow to flow into my life so that I can take a more active role in creating the brighter future that I want to see, right? And so that also taps into the larger plan, the bigger picture of why we need to have this abundance flowing in. And I have a little bit more to say about that, Jenny, if you don't mind. I have some more ways I'd like to expand into answering.
Yeah, please do.
I think, some of on a very practical level, there are some ways that we can shift the beliefs and the ways that might be our standard patterns or standard modes of operating. So, for example, in at least definitely in the United States, there is this sense of like needing to keep up with the Joneses, right? This idea of needing to have the big enough house, the nice enough car and all that. And so I want to really really welcome everybody who's listening. If you feel caught up in that, right? If you feel caught up in that at all, to really look at how you might be able to begin releasing these ideas of, because it's like, who are you keeping up with? Why this drive to keep up? And this is something that I feel that we can release, very easily, because we want to have a really good, strong foundation in our relationship with money, and we want to feel really good about what we're doing with it. So we want to be welcoming in the abundance in order to, like, carry out what our soul is here to do, not keeping up with other people, right? And not falling into these kind of tricks of consumerism that our society hands to us. Um, and and there's so much that we can do here, you know, as far as kind of voting with what we purchase, like voting for the future we want to see based on how we're spending our money now, you know. So we can, a lot of people right now are really turning toward minimalism, you know, not buying anything new, really reusing, um, and, you know, repairing clothes instead of buying new clothes, that kind of thing. And I think that's really so beautiful. And I think that honors the spirit of money in a very beautiful way, right? Because rather than this feeling of endless growth and endlessly needing new things, you can really value and appreciate the inherent qualities in what you already have, right? And so that also helps us to keep more financial abundance because we're not spending as much. We're not, the expenses are going down, right? And then we can just enjoy what we have, really, and immerse in the simplicity of that. So I think that's an important paradigm shift to bring in as well.
Yeah, thank you for that perspective. And something that brings up for me is, you know, there are dozens of research studies that show people's happiness and sense of fulfillment is much greater when they are engaging in experiences with other humans, other animals, with nature, um, versus when they are buying things that maybe they don't actually need. And it's that difference between that quick shot of adrenaline. Oh, I bought something. It makes me feel good for a moment. But, you know, think about when people buy new toys for their kids. You see it happen right there. And it's exciting for a moment. And then that excitement dissipates. And kids love to play, and they love to play with each other and imagination. It's really similar for us as adults, thinking about how can we heal our relationship in a way that leads us to more enriching experiences. And money is a beautiful vehicle for making those things happen. And it doesn't matter if you have a little or a lot of it. Another thing Lynn Twist talks a lot about in The Soul of Money is the idea of sufficiency. What's very interesting is in many of the interviews I've been doing, this idea has been coming up. And Lynn Twist's, you know, take on sufficiency is not about just enough. It's about a new way of thinking about abundance and keeping that cycle of energy flowing. And it's a kind of wealth that's emotional as well as financial and spiritual. So thank you so much for bringing that up, because it's such an important aspect to reframing how we think about money. Um,
Absolutely.
I'm, yeah, I'm wondering, um, thinking about that and all of the things that you shared so far around how we can heal our relationship with money. Um, are there other thoughts you have on how we can take back our power around money and making our financial decisions have a positive influence on the future of our world?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, yeah, a big part of taking back our power around money has to do with, again, this idea of like voting with our dollars. You know, what are we investing in for the future? And I think one really wonderful example of this is um, buying organic, right? Buying organic produce rather than produce that might have been, you know, grown with pesticides. Because, you know, when we look at the crazy state of how we're producing food, you know, especially in the US, also in other places in the world, when we purchase organic food, which might be a little bit more expensive, um, we're really making a vote for a healthier future, you know. And so then as our families ingest that food, it's better for us. And also that money is going to support the farmers, who are taking the extra effort and extra expense to create this organic food. Also buying local food is really, really important as part of this. And, you know, along the same lines as that, we can support like small local shops and restaurants instead of the big, huge chains that are, you know, creating lots of pollution and with the transportation of things nationwide, to deliver to the chains. If we can buy local, buy organic, that's really, really important. And we can also vote with our dollars by donating to the causes that are doing good work, you know. So and there are different organizations that might stand out for me, or, you know, different from the ones that stand out for you, right? But we get to choose, we get to take back our power here. You know, one organization that I always make sure to give to whenever I can is Tree Sisters. I just think they're doing such important work in the world, but there are so many, right? So many organizations that are really working to create a brighter future for us. So we can choose. Again, it's about choosing, and it's about being really, really conscious with how we're using the money that comes in. There are certain practices too that we can do to really deepen our relationship with money and really heal that relationship with money. One of those is to have a giveaway or a giveaway ceremony. And this is a very, very ancient indigenous practice where you can do this in different ways. You know, you can just arrange for, you know, to bring everything to Goodwill or to the Salvation Army and just go and clear out from your home, you know, all the things that are still perfectly usable and perfectly good condition, but you don't need them anymore, you know, and really releasing and recognizing you don't need this, it doesn't need to be in your space, and that it can go to somebody else who really needs it, right? And giving those things away and donating those things. All the buzz around Marie Kondo right now, I think, is really encouraging people to do this in a very positive way. If you want to do an even more intimate giveaway ceremony, you can invite friends and family to come to your house, and you can either have things planned, like something that you're going to give to each person, or you can even let them go around your house and choose something, you know. That there's great power in that, and that may feel a little daunting or a little scary, like what if they take my favorite lamp, or, you know, but there's great power in choosing that relationship and choosing the larger big picture abundance over that individual item that you might feel an attachment to, right? So this is a really beautiful and powerful way to heal our relationship with money. And also, we can do what my elder has done in just getting into a conversation with the spirit of money. And it might be helpful if you have an altar space, or if you like having crystals or stones, you know, to find a stone that might represent that spirit of money, and to hold that stone and to really work with it and to really connect in with this larger, very universal spirit of money, of financial abundance, and have a conversation, have a dialogue, you know, ask that spirit of money, you know, how can you work with it? How can you come into deeper relationship with it? How can you welcome more abundance into your life so you can do your highest work? And I'm sure the insights that you get will really, you know, help things to shift and change on an inner level there. And then I think too, it's so important that as we shift internally on in these ways, that we are also passing that along to the next generations. You know, they need our help and they need our guidance, our kids and our grandkids, our nieces and nephews. And if we're teachers or educators in any way, you know, these children today are even more bombarded by media and ads and you know, all of that than we were, than those of us who are adults now were as kids. They're even more hit by that now, and these images of, you know, how people should look, how people should dress. It's so we really want to pass these values along to them, you know. And so teaching them, you know, letting them see you do the giveaway ceremony, for example, or helping them to really get used to living with a more minimalistic lifestyle, letting them see you and participate in composting and recycling, you know, these ways that we can keep resources moving in good ways, right? And really create space in our lives for abundance to flow in by not being too attached to things. All of this it's just so important to share with our next generations. So those are some ideas for how we can take back our power around money.
What it really brings up for me are themes that continually come up in these interviews, which are around gratitude and generosity, as two antidotes to some of the big wounding that oftentimes we aren't even conscious of living in Western societies that are, you know, in this current manifestation of capitalism, where, as you touched on earlier, it is about scarcity, it's about extracting value without giving back. So gratitude and generosity. And then another theme that you're touching on is the idea of being in mindful relationship with money and with everything in our lives. And that is about making conscious how we relate to ourselves and to everything else in our lives, so that we can always be healing and growing. You know, we know from all human relationships, they're sometimes really easy and uplifting and sometimes very challenging. And the best ones are the ones that we engage from a place of love and kindness, generosity, and gratitude. And so I think all of those things can only help people as they go through this process of healing their wounds around money. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your comments there. That brings up one more thing that I would love to add if we have time. You know, you mentioned extraction, right? And it just makes me think of, you know, what we're doing to the earth. We're extracting all of these resources from the earth, and such a big part of gratitude and abundance and being in right relationship with all aspects of our world is this idea of reciprocity, that we are in this together, and that we are sharing, and that we are all helping each other. And in our relationship with the earth, this is just so important. You know, if you look at any ancient or indigenous cultures, before they would pick an herb or take a stone from the ground, they would ask permission. Is it okay? Does this stone want to come with me? Is it okay with this plant if I pick a stem from it? And we have just so largely lost that sense of that reciprocal connection of asking permission, giving thanks when we take things. And so this is another practice that it's so simple, but so powerful, is to really keep this in mind. So when we, you know, sit down to eat food, this is another beautiful thing to do together with kids or with family members, to just really, in a heartfelt way, give thanks for that food. You know, we often say prayers over the food, but maybe a little bit absentmindedly, like really connecting into the abundance, the life of this food that we're about to eat. And the hands that prepared it, and all, you know, that brought it to us all along the way. And we can even take a little bit of that food and go and put it out on the earth. That may seem strange to some, but we want to give back. We want to be in this reciprocal relationship. And, you know, whenever you're outside, if you're in nature, if you're sitting on the ground or going for a walk, just take a moment and put your hands on the earth and just thank her, you know, for our life. And I feel like this is so important to give thanks, um, and honoring, you know, to this planet who gives us so much, and we're taking so much. And when we do this, when we really give heartfelt gratitude and thanks for our life and for our food and the other aspects that come from our planet, you know, that it helps in this whole big picture of how we're all healing, needing to heal right now.
Absolutely. And it's all woven together.
Yes.
Um, I had one last question to ask, which is linked to everything that you've been talking about. Um, coming from this place that we've just talked about, giving thanks and generosity, each one of us has a different role that we play in our lives and our livelihoods with creating positive change. I know you work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and so I'm curious to know why you would think entrepreneurs are in a unique position to shift the future of financial resources for humanity.
Yeah, I love this question. Thank you for asking it. And this is a core part of it's a core part of my mission for sure, but I think it's a core part of why so many people are being called right now, or just really feeling a deep longing or a deep need to kind of step away from working and from jobs as we've always done before and to start something new. So whether it's an online business or a local business, whether it's a community or, you know, women's circles or men's circles, whether it's some kind of a movement, um, you know, when we step into this space of, again, like I was speaking about before, claiming our power around the abundance that we can welcome in, um, we really have the opportunity to shift the the paradigms and the structures of our world. So if we start an online business, for one thing, we can infuse it with gratitude and generosity, which I feel is such a big part of what you're doing in creating this summit. You know, it's such a beautiful offering to the world. um, we can really create it with gratitude and generosity. And as our business grows and we hire people, we can, you know, create such a beautiful environment for them, and spread our values, let everything ripple out into the world, let our values ripple out to our clients and out into the world in different ways. But we also really need to consider that we are at a time when the structures, all the structures of our modern world, so government, economic systems, educational systems, social justice systems, so many of these are reaching a breaking point, or reaching a point where it's being called out on a really large level that things are not working well anymore. And so as we look at this in the big picture, if we're starting our own businesses that are heart-based, soul-based, passion-based, you know, we're infusing them with our deepest core values and love and generosity. As the economic model shifts, and as some of these top-heavy, you know, types of big companies or governmental, you know, agencies or whatever it is that are no longer working start to fall apart, we, with these small businesses, you know, that's going to grow. And these heart-based businesses are going to become more and more and more a part of the economy, like bigger and bigger percentages of the economy. And I just see this as such a huge way that our world is wanting to shift, that we're being inspired to create these now, so that that can be the way that we move forward. So yeah, I think this is something that's up for all of us right now, and just that we're all being called to think about in one way or another in our lives.
Yeah, it brings up the theme that so many of my teachers talk about, which is breakdowns create breakthroughs. And one of my uh, favorite futurists, Hazel Henderson, who I'm interviewing in this series, really loves to talk about the idea of the rise of the grassroots globalists.
Mm.
And so we don't have to be working in, transforming huge organizations in order to create the scale of change that's needed right now. Each one of us, whether we're sole practitioners or we run very small businesses or mid-sized businesses for that matter, we each, in all of the values and actions that you've talked about, actually hold the power to recreate the world in that vision that we see. Um, Even though sometimes it might feel impossible, it's absolutely possible. And the work that you're doing and this whole concept of healing our relationship with money is so key to it. And I thank you for spending time with me today and the audience to share your perspectives. Um, just so powerful and so needed right now.
Oh, thank you so much, Jenny. Yeah, I love to think about all of the, this just this great awakening of consciousness, of intuition, of all of us really stepping into our purpose, into our paths. And I feel like it's happening almost like on an underground level, like mainstream society is not really fully aware that this is happening, but it's growing really fast and it's going to reach a point to rise up and just move forward in really big ways. So it is possible. It is more than possible. So thank you for those thoughts that you added. It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Healing the Capitalist Wound Speaker Series Part 1. Visit healingthecapitalistwound.com or our YouTube channel to catch the other videos in the series. I wish you the very best as you challenge norms and create a socially just, thriving world for all through your life and livelihood. I'm Jenny Rogers. Until next time, take good care.